It's the 1900s and Russia is poor, underdeveloped and generally behind the rest of Europe. While peasants were busy working in the fields, elites were too busy partying. It's good to see that nothing has changed in Russia since. Anyways, guy that ruled Russia, Tsar Nicholas II, saw that his country was behind the rest of Europe, so he decided to change something. Just kidding, he continued to party. Surprise, surprise, people are mad at the Tsar for not doing anything to improve their lives. So Nicholas wakes up one day and says, fuck it, I will do something about this. So he thought to himself what to do, and he concluded that he had three options. Option number 1, introduce democratic reform. Option 2, try to stabilize the economy so that people have better lives. And option 3, start totally unnecessary war with Japan that we are not prepared for. Guess which option he chose? Of course he chose the third option. As expected, this went terribly, and Russians were beaten badly, and they lost these territories. Now people were even more pissed, and they looked for someone who can change their miserable lives. One person they found was certain communist Vladimir Lenin, and he was currently in exile in Switzerland for plotting against the Tsarist regime, but he just needed the perfect opportunity to start his revolution. And then when World War I broke out, Lenin got the opportunity he always wanted. At first Russia was doing pretty good, but pretty soon things will go downhill for them, because Russia hadn't industrialized, their weapons were outdated, and their tactics were downright bad. Now people were extremely mad, so they decided to riot, and in February Tsar abdicated and was replaced by provisional government. Lenin looked at the chaos that was happening in Russia and thought that time was right for communist revolution. What is communism, you might ask yourself? Long story short, rich people are evil, power-hungry monsters that exploit poor people, so poor people should overthrow rich people, and everything will be perfect forever. Lenin wanted to overthrow the provisional government before elections could be held, and then he would win elections, and then he would have complete control over the country. First part of the plan went flawlessly, he overthrew the government successfully, but then the elections came and he lost them to provisional government. Well, Lenin said, let's take over the country by force, and that started the conflict known as the Russian Civil War. In this war there were two sides, people who thought that communism was cool, and the people who thought that communism was bullshit. And after nearly 10 million deaths, communists won. Lenin finally had complete control over the country and he decided to remake it a little bit, so he made brand new country called the Soviet Union. After he had done all of this, he died and someone needed to succeed him. And of course it will be this guy. He was there with Lenin since day one. But to everyone's surprise, Stalin actually becomes the new leader. Stalin then proceeded to kill literally everyone who didn't agree with him. He also wanted to industrialize Russia, so he made what is called 5-year plans to industrialize it. Every plan focused on different sector of the economy. First 2 plans went flawlessly, except for some genocides in Ukraine. Halfway throughout the third plan he noticed that Germany was getting a little bit too aggressive. So Hitler and Stalin agreed to split Poland amongst themselves, and in the meantime they started World War II. Thankfully for Stalin, Germany was blamed, and they got extra time to prepare. Soviets estimated that they will be ready for war in 1945, as long as they don't get invaded, but Hitler had other plans. Germany attacked Soviet Union in 1941. Long story short, Germany did well at first, but with the help of later Soviet Union beat Germans. In the liberated Eastern European countries elections were held, and for no particular reason of all they chose to become communist allies of the Soviet Union. America was pretty alarmed about spreading of the communism, so they decided that communism should be kept away with Iron Curtain. They also made a club of countries that hated communism. That club is called NATO. Soviets made a club of countries that hate capitalism that is called Warsaw Pact. This was the start of the Cold War, in which Soviets and Americans tried to show that their system is the best, and in which they tried to outdo each other in everything. In alliances, military technology and the nuclear weapons. Let's see how Stalin is doing. Oh, he's dead. Because there was nowhere on Earth to expand, Soviet Union decided to try to expand into space. They were actually pretty good at launching first man, woman, and dog into space. But when they tried to get to the moon first, they failed, and it was the Americans that got to the moon first. After the death of Stalin, leader of Communist China thought that Soviet Union is stepping away from real communism, so they broke up their relations in what is called Sino-Soviet split. On the other side of the world and the newly communist Cuba, Soviets stored their nuclear weapons. America didn't like this one bit, so they surrounded the island and said that they were going to inspect every Soviet ship that comes in Cuba, and that if they don't comply, they're gonna shoot them. For about 12 days tensions were super high, and there was fear of nuclear war. But Soviets came to America and said, we will remove our nuclear weapons from Cuba if you remove yours from Italy and Turkey. And USA and the Soviet Union agreed not to be idiots and not to destroy the whole world. Because of excessive spending, Soviet economy was in the toilet for the next 20 years. In 1985, some dude Gorbachev came to power in the Soviet Union, and he introduced democratic and economic reforms to the Soviet Union. His goal was to make Soviet Union more free and democratic. This annoyed many hardcore communists, so they tried to overthrow him, but they failed. Other Soviet republics saw that their country was collapsing, so basically everyone declared independence from the Soviet Union, except Kazakhstan. So for about 4 days, Soviet Union looked like this. And on the Christmas Eve 1991, the Soviet Union collapsed. And then everyone was happy and capitalist. Oh, never mind, there were shortages and inflation. Well, there you have it, the history of the Soviet Union. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe and like.